Hey guys, it's Ultimate from S3R Gamers, and welcome to Pokemon 101. And today, it's Blastoise 101. So, here we are. Gonna teach you, I guess, a little bit about using Blastoise, especially when it comes to battle. Now, let's start with something that I think most people don't often try, and especially before his Mega form, you know, it was iffy as to how good he could be as an attacker. Now, I'm a little biased because this is my favorite Pokemon, so I've always thought he's been very useful. But something to try with him is to put him on a Rain team. And because he has access to the ability Rain Dish, he heals 1/16 of his HP per turn. Now, you want to couple this with leftovers. And then basically he's going to be a staller for you. So what you're going to want to do is give him Toxic and Protect. Now, you could give him Rain Dance. If you don't need a spinner, then I think it's fine to give him Rain Dance. If you do need a Rapid Spinner, he still makes a good Rapid Spinner in this situation. So Rapid Spin or Rain Dance in that last slot. And then for his final move, it's pretty much about choice. You're on a rain team, so any real water move is going to help you out. Brine could be useful because Toxic is going to wear your opponent's HP down, and once it gets to 50 or less, you're doing 130 damage plus 50% stab plus 50% in the rain, so you're looking at 260 damage. There is also Water Spout, which if he has full HP, you're doing a lot of damage as well. But again, you know, even as a staller, you can still take some massive hits. And keep in mind, in the rain, you are 100% susceptible to Thunder, although it's doubtful you're going to run into too many Thunders in general because most people are going to run Thunderbolt. Surf is the most balanced option because it's has high power and it's very, very accurate. Hydro Pump gives you a little extra punch. And then there's Water Pulse, which can come in handy because you would be having the potential to confuse your target. Although since you're not running his Mega form, Water Pulse does very little damage in comparison to a lot of other moves. So I think personally for me, I would go Hydro Pump or Surf, but because he's a staller, Scald isn't really necessarily what you want to do because you're going to want a Toxic. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Surf just because I also want the extra PP. You are a staller. Now in this situation, it suggests we go specially defensive. I'm actually going to say full HP, and then I'm going to split your defenses. But you could go one way or the other. I say split your defenses. Now at this point, you can make the decision to either up his defense or special defense through his nature, or if you want just a tiny little bit of punch on your attack, you can make him modest, because Rapid Spin is not there for damage, it's there to clear the way. So that's one option. Now, if you're going to use him in another way, and keep in mind that other option, that's mainly for a rain team because you're getting the Rain Dish and the leftovers healing all in one turn and Toxic Protect. You're staying along for a while. There are other options though. If you want to use him, but you want to use another Mega on your team, you can still use him. I don't necessarily recommend it. I'd argue if you're going to have him on your team, you're most likely going to want him to be a Mega. But he's pretty bulky, so what I would suggest, run an Assault Vest and keep Torrent as his thing. Unless you're running Rain on this team, then it's okay to give him Rain Dish. But I would keep Torrent. And so with Assault Vest, you're going to need all attacks. So Rapid Spin if you need it. If you don't need it, as in you already have another Rapid Spinner, or you have a Defogger on your team, don't use Rapid Spin. But let's just say for the sake, you're going to use him. Part of his utility is that he's a Rapid Spinner and a bulky one at that. So we're going to give him Rapid Spin. Now with that, Flash Cannon comes in really handy. It's hard to justify Flash Cannon with Mega Launcher. You're going to want to use Pulse moves, but since we're not running Mega, this sort of opens us up to pick some of his other nice attacks. Now with that, you're also going to want Ice Beam, because Ice Beam just comes in handy in general, and it really takes down those big dragons like, you know, Garchomp and Salamence and Dragonite. Lastly, you could go Hydro Pump. Again, a lot of people like to go Hydro Pump. A lot of people like to go for the extra punch in competitive battling. I'm of the type that I just prefer knowing I'm gonna hit. So I'm gonna go ahead and give him Surf. And now with that, yeah, you're gonna want Modest, and then you're gonna wanna run full HP, full special attack EVs. And that's what you can do. If you don't need Rapid Spin, I'd suggest Dark Pulse. I just think it rounds out his coverage pretty nicely. There also is Aura Sphere. And so that can be useful too. But Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse as his fourth move. But I'd keep Flash Cannon because it comes in really handy, especially against Azumarill, who can be a real pain or thorn in Mega Blastoise's side, because usually you're running moves that Azumarill only resists. So again, go Aura Sphere, or Dark Pulse, or Rapid Spin, and then throw in Flash Cannon, Ice Beam, and Surf. Now here is where I think Blastoise is pretty much found his niche. He's in UU, and in UU he is a great Pokemon. He's also pretty solid in OU as well. But in UU, you know, or OU, you're going to want to make him a Mega. It doesn't matter, his ability changes to Mega Launcher. So with that, here's what you're going to do. If you need Rapid Spin, throw it on him. It's perfect for him. He's bulky, he can take the hits, he's good to go. Now, here's where things start to get tricky. You're going to have to give him Water Pulse, because Water Pulse with his ability Mega Launcher boosts it all the way up to being as strong as the move Surf. And although it's not quite as strong as Hydro Pump, the accuracy plus the chance to confuse, it's too good to pass up. So, what's left? It's kind of up to you. You really got 4 choices here. You have Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse, and Ice Beam. Now, I'd say Ice Beam or Dragon Pulse, it really doesn't matter. Dragon Pulse does hit more Pokemon neutrally, but again, fairies aren't affected by it. It's resisted by Steel. Little unfortunate, but it's still a very good move, and it hits a lot of Pokemon for neutral damage. Ice Beam, however, I mean, it hits grass Pokemon. It hits flying Pokemon, you know, it hits a lot of Pokemon. And again, that ×4 weakness almost makes that 50% attack bonus to Dragon Pulse. It almost negates it, since most of the time you're going to be using it super effectively. So keep that in mind. Personally, I like to go Dragon Pulse. But Ice Beam is very justifiable in this situation too. You might want to look at your team. If you have a lot of Dragon moves already, because dragons are very popular, especially in OU, which is where I do find I use Blastoise more often. And I think I've had more success with him in OU than UU. But if you're in UU, I think Ice Beam might be just as fine. Or, you know, Ice Beam might be better for you. Or Dragon Pulse actually might be better in UU, because you're probably not going to be running as many dragons, so you will need the coverage. As for the final move, you're looking at Dark Pulse or Aura Sphere. Now, Aura Sphere's nice, never misses. It hits Ferrothorn super effectively, which is huge because Ferrothorn resists just about every other move. However, Dark Pulse hits Ferrothorn neutrally, and it has the chance to flinch, and you're pretty much always going to be outspeeding any Ferrothorn you run into. If not, you're probably already paralyzed. So again, take a look at your team. A lot of times you can't necessarily just look at, hey, I'm giving him these moves and that's it. Sometimes you really got to look at your team and say, what do I need and can he fill this role? So you might need more dark coverage, you might need more fighting coverage, whichever that is, swap it in. Now, if you don't need a spinner, personally, I'd go in that situation. I think I'd actually go Ice Beam, Water Pulse, Dark Pulse, Aura Sphere. So that's something to think about. But if you need a spinner, Rapid Spin, Water Pulse, Dragon Pulse, Dark Pulse is usually what I run. Aura Sphere if I need it. But again, he can do just as well with Ice Beam, Water Pulse, Aura Sphere, and Dark Pulse. Now, as far as his HP, as far as his EV spread goes, here's something to think about. Most people are probably going to run Modest, and that's actually okay if you want to run Modest, give him the extra punch. That's fine. I've actually found I've had a lot of success, and I've survived just barely a handful of times running a Calm Blastoise, which ups his special defense at the expense of his physical attack, which you're not using in this situation unless you're rapid spinning, but you're really not trying to beat anything with rapid spin. And then I just go full investment into his special attack. Now, it is a small boost in special defense, and it may not seem like much, but I've had a lot of success with it, and so I feel comfortable running a Calm one. But again, worst comes to worst, you don't trust that, go ahead and give him Modest. He will pack quite a punch, but I found that, again, I think he does pretty well as a Calm Blastoise. So that's another thing. I made a physically attacking Blastoise with Power Up Punch, Aqua Jet, Earthquake, and Avalanche. That is pretty much Blastoise in a nutshell. One last thing to note, Hidden Power Grass can be useful if you run into Quagsire, Swampert, or Gastrodon, especially since Quagsire and Gastrodon can also both absorb water attacks, and you might find yourself in a situation where you don't have a lot of moves to use on them. However, if you're a Mega, you're going to be getting, a 50% attack boost on a lot of moves that are going to hit them for neutral damage anyway, so it's not necessarily worth it, but you never know, it might help you out in a pinch. Just something to think about. So that is really what I've come up with here. There you have it, the first episode of Pokemon 101. That was Blastoise 101, so I hope that helped you guys out if you wanted to try out Blastoise. If you have any other thoughts on some sets to run with him, or EV spreads, let me know in the comments below. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see, let me know. I'll do my best to look into it. I really like trying Pokemon that aren't out there. I get kind of tired of seeing, the same Pokemon over and over again. So I like to try out different Pokemon, especially if I like them, even if they're not great. So it's fun for me to try. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time for more Pokemon 101.